Hi, everyone who's joining. Just waiting for the rest of the group to join. Whilst we're waiting, I'll get you guys to just use the chat function to introduce yourselves. So who you are and where you're from. Hi, Pat. Hi, Dami. Hi, Peter. Great to see you. Couple of housekeeping points. So you've already found the chat function. There is also a questions function. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them as we go. Please just use the questions tab, which is the next one along from the chat function. And we'll leave space at the end as well for any questions that you might have after. We'll also be running a couple of polls. Any problems, just drop something in the chat. Hey, Malik has also joined. And Steve, great to see you, buddy. And Simon too. Great. But ultimately, what we're here to do is reassure you that this course is for you. If you've got an idea that you're already working on, if you've got many ideas that you're considering at the moment, or even if you've got no ideas yet at all. Now, I say this course is for everyone. We have kept the bar super low. We're trying to make this as frictionless as possible for you guys to explore whether or not starting your own business is going to be for you. We're not expecting this to be for everyone, and you will have the opportunity at any point through the course to say, do you know what, this is not for me. As you will see, we've got a ton of different programs that we'll be releasing over the course of the coming months. And you guys can let me know where you're at in your journey when it comes to your startup. We've got about 40% saying you've got many ideas that you're considering, and most of you have got one specific idea that you're already working on. All right. So we'll talk a bit more about how we look at the startup journey here at Underdog. And we've got a 4-stage journey from zero, which could be having no idea or even one specific idea that you're considering, all the way through to what we call liftoff. And we'll go through each of those stages in turn. So the first stage is this catapult stage that we are at currently. And the aim of that is over the course of the next 12 weeks to get you to a validated idea. And we'll talk more about what that means in a second. But ultimately, we want you to get demand validation before you even go out and start creating the product or service that you're considering. The world used to work a bit differently. You used to need to have that product in your hands ready to sell before going out and finding distribution. But in today's digital age, we kind of do that back to front. And in my opinion, in a much more efficient and effective way. So we actually go out and we find that demand first. And then on the back end of that, we then go out and spend the time, money, effort, and energy to go and create the product or service. So that's the entire purpose of these first 12 weeks. Stage 2 will be a 6-month program, which we're calling Launchpad. And that will, once you've got that validated idea, take you through the different steps and processes that you need to go through in order to launch your MVP, or minimum viable product. So that's your proof of concept that is a real tangible product or service that you'll be launching to the market, ideally to paying customers. Stage 3 in our process will be the liftoff process, and that will be getting you pitch ready, so ready to pitch for investment, if that's applicable for you, within 30 days. And then finally, we'll be helping you to get funded. And of course, that's where the hard work begins. A lot of people think, great, fantastic. I've spent the past 12 months or so working on this idea, getting it to the stage where outside investors have validated it, as well as the market, by giving me money to go out and hire the right people, run the marketing, and perhaps to finalize that product or service that you have created. That, friends, is where the fun and the hard work actually begins. But of course, here, today, we're talking about this first stage in that journey. So the Catapult course, taking you from 0 to 1. Over the course of the next 12 weeks, if you choose to stay with us, we will help you to choose and to build an audience. So as I mentioned before, we go out and we find that demand first and foremost. We'll then be offering that audience a product or service that they understand. So they understand what it is that you are trying to do for them. And then finally, we'll be collecting data, and this is important. We'll be collecting data, so actual hard metrics, to prove that that audience wants what we've got to offer. And we call this getting to first signals. So those are the initial stages or the initial green shoots of, do you know what? I'm onto something good here. And it's got the potential to be great. So look, this program is for you, whether you're in full-time or part-time employment, whether you're low on time or you're time rich. However, all that having been said, and we're super flexible here, the only thing that we ask is that you're ready to jump in at the deep end. You've got to be prepared to put in the hard work. We're not here to build your business for you, and we couldn't do that even if we wanted, because if we built your business, it would be ours. Which brings me on to who we are. So I'm Mike. My partner, Steve. Between us, we've got over 20 years of experience building startups. We've mentored over 100 founders, and we have raised, for our own companies and for the companies that we've worked for, millions of pounds in venture funding. I'm 2 times VC backed myself, and Steve works for a massive venture-backed company as well. So what's in it for us, you might ask? Why are we doing this, and what's the catch? Because of course, guys, this is a free and inclusive accelerator, and it's open to everyone. So we're here fundamentally, first and foremost, because we love startups. We live and breathe it, and we've been working in the industry for 15 plus years in my case. On top of that, our kind of secret sauce on the back end is we're looking to build a venture fund, because there is a massive gap in the market, in my opinion. And I've been an angel investor and a VC over the course of those 15 years. There's a massive gap in the market at that super early stage. At the stage that many of you will be at, where you're not yet ready to go out and get that venture-backed funding on the back end of that 4-stage process that we talked about. No one is here to support you, certainly financially, and we're looking to change that. Lastly, and probably most importantly, we hope that we can work together with you if you're successful in graduating the program. All that we'd ask is that you trust the process. Like I said, be ready to jump in at the deep end. We don't pretend to have all the answers. Sometimes I like to think I do, but genuinely, even though I've got a relative ton of experience, the reality is that your mileage will vary. It absolutely will. The stuff that's worked for me may not work for you. And even over the course of this program, you'll realize as you're working in your peer-to-peer working groups, that what works for one of you in one particular vertical or market might not necessarily work for you in real time. So we don't pretend to have all the answers, absolutely not. And anyone who does is probably a charlatan. That having been said, we have done this many, many times before, both in the personal capacity and as advisors to other solopreneurs. Yeah, we've helped over 100 founders, people just like you, solo founders, solopreneurs, which again is quite rare in the venture-backed market. And we want to help you to succeed ultimately. And how you do that is, yes, again, we can't build your business for you, but what we can do is help stack the odds in your favor. Building a business, and you will hear me say this again and again, building a business is simple, but it's not easy. In fact, it's fundamentally hard. It's especially hard as a solopreneur, because you don't have that community and that support around you. And again, we're looking to change that. If you put in the hard work, of course, there's no silver bullet. We can't guarantee success, but if you put in the hard work and you follow the process and trust in the process, the chances are that you are going to get winning results. And again, all we're trying to do is stack the odds slightly in your favor to increase your chance of success incrementally over the course of this program and the following programs which we've described. So we've been talking about startups, but actually what is a startup and why should you be thinking about building one? So this lovely chap here is Steve Blank, a famous American entrepreneur. And we're a massive fan of this definition of a startup. And he describes startups as temporary organizations formed to search for repeatable and scalable business models. And we'll dig into what each of those highlighted terms means. I've got to be prepared as an entrepreneur to live in the world of chaos. What you're doing today as an early stage startup, exploring the market and running experiments and the like, That is not what you're going to be doing as you graduate into, hopefully, a VC-backed startup, then into a scale-up, and then ultimately, what we all hope, into an incumbent, so an established presence in the industry. What you do today is fundamentally different, and you can see that across a number of startups that have been through that journey, where the actual founder CEO has stepped back and said, do you know what, this is no longer for me. I want to go back and be a bit raw and gritty. And the fundamental point I'm making here is that starting startups is absolutely not for everyone. And if it's not for you, that's absolutely fine, right? Part of why we have pulled together this course is to give people, just like you, the ability to dip their toes in the water and to explore whether or not they are suited to working in this slightly chaotic environment. And I always joke with Steve that if there's not enough chaos in my life, I like to go out and create a little bit of chaos because I thrive on that. So what you do today is not what you'll be doing tomorrow, but also you've got to be prepared to experiment. And you have to be prepared and okay with failure. You are going to fail, and actually, we encourage failure because it means that you're trying. I often talk about throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. That is the mindset you're going to have to be in at this very early stage of your startup journey. So we're searching for stuff, which means you've got to think of yourselves as mad scientists in the lab, making concoctions and trying to create something that is incredible, with the understanding that most of what you do will not work. Thirdly, whatever you're doing has got to be repeatable. There is absolutely no point in doing something that ultimately equates to just blind luck, right? If you're going to grow this into a business that has the ability to sustain through the long term, you've got to be able to systemize and repeat whatever it is that you are doing. And that links neatly into this final piece, which is whatever you are building, in our opinion, has got to be scalable. If it's not scalable, you've essentially created a side hustle that will end up being a job rather than a business. We want you to be thinking with that owner's mentality, that owner's hat on, as opposed to the operator's hat. Whatever you do, whatever you create, should be able to live and thrive, even if you're not in the weeds. And I've made this mistake many times before. Trading my time for money. Yes, there are benefits, right, of working for yourself, but ultimately it's still a job, and we're still always accountable to someone. So temporary, search, repeatable, scalable. Those are the 4 elements that we really lean into when we're encouraging you to think about what you might be building. What makes a startup successful? Well, we've got a lovely pyramid here. And first off, whatever you build has got to be wanted by the market. And that's why we start off with that audience-first mentality. Whatever you are creating has got to be both understood and wanted by your potential customers. That goes without saying. But on top of that, you've also got to be able to deliver whatever it is that you're offering. Again, maybe it goes without saying, but this is a neat little way of thinking about it. And the example I often give is, it might be that I, as a commuter, would love to be able to teleport in a fraction of a second to the office and save the half hour either end of my day on that commute. Hell, yeah, you know what? I would pay good money for that. But is that actually technically feasible? Can you build and develop that service? Chances are you can't. And the final piece of the puzzle, of course, is us reminding ourselves that we are building a business, not a charity. So whatever we are building has got to be financially viable for us as a business. And by that, I mean, we kind of break down cost and pricing into 3 things. The most important one of which is value. Do your customers see ginormous value in what it is that you've got to offer? Then you price below the value. So you price whereby the customer thinks this is a no-brainer. I've absolutely got to get in on this. But of course, the cost to you of winning that customer and delivering that product or service has got to be below whatever that retail price is, that you can still make money. Not necessarily in the early stages, and we'll go through this over the course of the program, but in the long term, your unit economics have got to stack up in your favor. Otherwise, again, you'll just be burning cash month on month, week on week, day on day. So desirability, feasibility, and viability. That's what we're looking for. And we've already mentioned this bit. Startups are hard. And the reality is that building a ginormous, super successful business in the early stages is frankly just as hard or almost as hard as building a neat little side hustle. Now, there is nothing wrong with building a side hustle, absolutely not. But we would encourage each and every one of you to shoot for the stars, to think big and to really lean into that impact that you can have on the world, that positive impact that you can have on the world. And one of the ways that we like to describe this is the 2 comma club, which might look a bit odd, but all will be revealed. So we'd ask you to aim for 1 million touch points in whatever it is that you're doing or building. And it's these 1 million touch points that will have world-changing impact. So that could mean having one individual interact with your product 1 million times over the course of a year. It could mean having 10,000 customers, probably more realistically, right? 10,000 customers interacting with your product twice a week. Or alternatively, 100,000 customers interacting with your product once a month over the course of the year. So that's a neat little framework for you guys to think about when you're in that ideation stage in your business. All right, we've got a poll coming up, and just having heard a bit about the process, is this for you? Are you too advanced in your journey? Or is this a maybe for you? Do you need a bit of time to think? So most of you so far are keen. This is for you, which is great to hear. I would have thought, knowing some of the people in the room, I'd have thought this might not be for you because you're too advanced, but good to hear that you're still interested. And a fair few of you need a bit of time to think. And if that is the case, feel free to reach out to me and to Steve, either in the community or over email, and we're happy to talk things through with you. Like I said, we're doing this kind of pro bono because we love startups and we'd love to work with you guys. And if we're not getting it quite right, and that goes throughout the course as well. If we're not getting it right throughout the course, we're a startup ourselves and we will drink our own Kool-Aid. We will forever be iterating and improving what we're offering. So reach out to us at any time with any thoughts or suggestions you might have. We'll talk a little bit more now about what comes next if you do decide to join us. So for the majority of you who said you are still interested in taking part, this is what it will look like. So every week, 9 a.m. on Monday, UK time, we'll be releasing a 30 to 60 minute online workshop, which you can digest at your leisure. So these won't be live. We've kept it this way so that you guys can dig into that regardless of your schedule for the week. We'll also be hosting live AMAs for 30 to 60 minutes, depending on demand. Same time, same place, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. UK time. So Steve and I will be here to answer any questions that you have about the sprint. And then finally, at the same time as that workshop being released, we'll be releasing weekly practical assignments. And you'll have the entire week to complete those. So you can digest the workshop, you can start working on the assignments, and then submit them before the start of the next week. So hopefully that's clear. And those will be reviewed by us. You'll be getting feedback on a week-by-week basis. And the important bit about having the practical assignments is this is not one of those courses where you can just sit back and be lectured to, even though it might feel a bit like that today. I promise you the course itself will be super interactive, and every single assignment that we set you will be based on you building your business in real time. It's not like a university degree or anything like that, where you're just getting assignments for the sake of it. Each of these assignments will help you as you build your business. I can see I've got a question here. Is it solely for those located in the UK? So no, absolutely not. This is open to anyone worldwide. I'll caveat that slightly by saying that the demo day at the end of the 12-month program is likely to be highly concentrated on UK-based founders. So from a funding perspective, it will be better for you if you are UK-based. but I think you'll still get a ton of value from taking part, regardless of where in the world you are. And ultimately, we're living in a digital age, so I wouldn't worry about being outside of the UK. Again, if the timings don't quite work for you for the AMAs, there are other ways that we can help. And hopefully that's on the next slide. So we'll be inviting everyone that signed up to today's call to the Underdog community. That will be open 24/7. Now, I can't promise that Steve and I will be on there 24/7 to answer your questions, but part of the beauty of the Underdog community is that you guys will all be in this together, ideally at similar stages in your startup journeys, or perhaps some of you will be slightly ahead and will be able to pay it forwards and kind of give back and help those who were slightly behind. We'll also be putting you into working groups. So these will be peer-to-peer working groups where you will meet for, we'd suggest, 30 to 60 minutes every week to bounce ideas off each other based on the topic of that particular week. And then finally, we've already lined up some deals and discounts for you with various startup-friendly providers, and there are many more in the pipeline, which we're excited to release to you. There are optional extras. Again, it just doesn't really scale for us to do this for everyone for free, but there will be one-to-one mentoring available if that's for you, and it's certainly not for everyone. And we've also got our Underdog Studio, which will help with delivery support. So it might be that you're exceptionally good at building your product or service, but you're having trouble whipping up a landing page. We can help with that, or maybe setting up your Facebook ads, or whatever it might be. So whenever there is a need for you to get some outside support, feel free to come to us, and the chances are we can help you out on that front. In terms of how the journey will look, week 1, which starts next week, Monday the 1st, is around finding your why. So why is it that you want to start a startup? And this might seem a bit odd, right? To introspect, to self-reflect, but it's absolutely fundamental in my opinion, because why we are doing, why we're on this journey will fundamentally inform what and how we build whatever it is that we're doing. If I'm trying to just make a ton of money versus have a positive impact on the world, how I go about that might fundamentally be different. So we'll really be leaning in on that. And I'll kind of caveat all of this by saying that it is quite a slow entry point in the first 2 weeks of the course. We're not going to be smashing you with a ton of super intensive work. It's quite like a slow start, let's say, but the intensity will ramp up over the course of the program. Week 2 is around finding your spike. And how we define that is what makes you special. What is it that you could be world-class at? Because we truly believe that every single one of you has the potential to be world-class at something. And we want to uncover your superpowers, because again, that's going to inform what and how you build. The next element of this first half of the program is around understanding your audience, building up that audience as we talked about before, and running various tests and experiments with them to get you to that ideation stage, which will come in week 6 at the end of the first half of the program. So by the end of the first half of the program, we'd expect you to have a really solid idea to be working on. And you'll be working on that in the second part of the program, so the final 6 weeks. And that starts with your value proposition. And that value proposition is something that we'll introduce early on in the program, so you can start working on it early. So by the time you get to week 6, you should be able to just put the finishing touches on it and really tweak it. We'll then be actually going out and running real world live tests. So testing that value proposition with the market, again, with the end result being, hopefully, you having reached a validated idea with real metrics, real traction by the end of week 12, where there'll be a final assessment and we'll review our progress. For those of you who do manage to get to that stage, we'll then be inviting you to the Launchpad element, so the 6-month Launchpad version, where we'll take you from that validated idea through to a minimum viable product. And then after that, we'll be helping you, as I already discussed, preparing your pitch and hopefully getting funded. What you'll also do once you get through that initial catapult stage is you'll be given lifetime access to our community. Super, super important to us. Like I said, we've kept the barrier to entry really, really low for this initial piece. And the reason for that is we want to get this in front of as many people as possible to allow you guys to dip your toe in and see if this is for you. If it's not for you, that's absolutely fine. But if it is, and you do meet the minimum required standard, we would love to have you around into perpetuity. And then in terms of what's coming next, yes, as I mentioned, you'll get an email invite to the platform. That's our community platform. And the only thing that we ask, so again, we're not asking for payment or anything like that, but our kind of one ask to you guys is if you can, please, 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 on the platform, there's a little link which allows you to refer a friend. So if there is anyone in your network that you think might be even remotely interested in starting a startup, this recording will be made available to them. They can go through it. If they have any questions, they can reach out to me and to Steve. And if they're interested in joining, again, absolutely no cost, bring them onto the program, because it will make the experience for you guys that much better the more people who are in the community. And our, I guess, ethical bribe to you is that for every 2 people you refer who join the program, we will gift you a free one-on-one mentoring hour with either me or one of the other mentors in our network. So if you referred 6 people, if you referred 12 people, that would get you 6 hours worth, which would be half an hour a week. So half an hour every single week of the program, which is pretty cool. As I mentioned, week 1, kicking off on Monday, so May the 1st, and that'll be around finding your why. There's a question in the chat. How many people in the community right now, and how many are we expecting? So we had over 100 people sign up to this kickoff call. You guys are, in some respects, the guinea pig. As I said, me and Steve have been doing this for a very, very long time, and we've mentored 100 plus solopreneurs. So this is kind of like the pinnacle of everything that we've learned over the past 15, 20 years or so between us. But you guys are the very first cohort. So there's a few people already in the community, but we'll be leaning on you guys to actually make that a super vibrant place. And I think as we get into the swing of things and really kick off with the program, what I'm hoping is that you guys will see so much value from it that you'll be engaging with us and with your peers. And again, just keep that block in your diary, 7 p.m. UK, every Wednesday for the next 12 weeks, because that will be our live Ask Me Anything. And guys, look, thank you so much for your time. I think I've kept it to about half an hour, give or take. I'll now open it up to any other questions that you have, which you can place into the chat. Sorry, guys, there's a few more questions here. So SJ's already referred a couple of people. You will get a free hour. Just drop me an email, SJ, and let me know who you referred, and then we can link that to you. Not a problem. Lizzie's asked, are we going to send calendar invites for those dates and times? Yes, that will be sent out. We've got another question around, do you need to attend the AMAs? So those live Ask Me Anything Q&A sessions on Wednesdays at 7. Absolutely not, guys. That is completely voluntary. We won't be assessing you on that. If you get the work done on a week-by-week basis and you meet that minimum standard required for each assessment, we're happy to have you along for the ride. And like I mentioned, there are a ton of other ways that you can interact with the community and get that support that you need. Patrick said, hi, mate, thanks for the chat. My pleasure. I know it's been a little bit one way. Shari's asked, what if you have more than one idea? Is there any guidance there? Absolutely. And that's that entire first half of the program. That will be centered around helping you to refine your ideas down to one very specific idea that will then spend the second half of the program testing. Mohammed's asked, is the 6-month launchpad set to start straight after this program? And is it also free for graduates? So that's a bit up in the air at the moment. What we're looking to try and do is get funding for that for you guys. Fingers crossed that will come through. Ideally, it will start straight after, assuming enough of you graduate in order to make that possible. We need a minimum number to kind of get through in order to make it worthwhile. But yeah, the plan is that will roll through. So basically, 12 months from today, our aim is to have as many of you as possible with a live, working, minimum viable product out there in the market and the funding to go out and to build that into a real business. Patrick said, my company's already quite far ahead in its journey, but we're developing a new product for a different market segment. Absolutely. So I've worked with a fair few people in this exact position. And if you're an entrepreneur, so you have an existing company, but you're developing something new inside that company, I think you will get enormous value from this. And depending on the type of company that you work for, and I've worked for, in the past, two of the largest businesses in their specific vertical. So IBM, which at the time was the largest tech company in the world, and Citigroup, at the time, the largest financial services company in the world. The level of innovation in those companies is nowhere near the level that it is in the world of startups. So I think by bringing some of the skills and the processes and the systems that we will be sharing with you over the course of this program into your company, whether it's a startup itself or a mega corporate, you will get a ton of value. So we'd encourage you to stick around. Mohammed's asked, is this platform the one for joining it and interacting with the community? The answer is no, it's not. We've got a separate platform for that, but we'll be sharing that link with you after this call. Yes, and Ravinder's sent me a LinkedIn message, which I thought I'd replied to, but if I haven't, I will get back to you. Absolutely no problem there. Let me just see if there are any more questions. Simon said, delighted to be on board. How does this program compare from any others out there, e.g. Hotbed? I'll be honest, I've not heard of Hotbed. Are they specifically for solopreneurs? I'm not sure. And you're keen to hear a bit more about us. What we'll do, I mean, that's a really good point. We will share our LinkedIns with you guys. You can kind of look at our backgrounds and what we've done. And do we have a network of angel investors, etc.? Yeah, so I've been an angel investor for an awful long time for my sins, as well as being a VC. So I'm super well connected in the London and UK startup investor space. So we've absolutely got access to the right people for you at the right stage, as you mentioned. A few more questions coming in. Yeah. Are we hiring for the studio? That's a really good question. At the moment, I'll be completely frank with you, it's just me and Steve bootstrapping it. We're a startup ourselves. We're excited to share what we've learned in our respective journeys with you guys. So at this stage, we're not hiring, but that may change if we do go out and get funded. And Peter, yeah, I know, Peter, I was thinking of you when I was saying this. I know your MVP is almost ready. So absolutely, I think you will probably be more suited to that launchpad stage, which is not quite yet ready for launch, somewhat ironically. So when the time is right, I'll be reaching out to you, but it may be that you've already moved a bit ahead, unfortunately. For those of you who are a bit more advanced, we'll invite you to the community and we'll create a separate section within the community for those of you who are there. Lizzie said, my friend's trying to access him on mobile. Totally get that. Yeah, I think with this system, you need to be on desktop, unfortunately. But again, this will be recorded, so we'll be able to share the recording with your friend. Just drop me an email, Lizzie, if you can, and copy your friend in, and I'll make sure that she gets the recording. Keen said, I'm working with my employer to bring a new product to market. The reason for this is to help with the startup I'm already working on. Will this course help with working within existing communities? Yeah, within existing companies, rather. Yeah, absolutely. Similar to the question that I think Patrick asked earlier. Absolutely. This is a way of innovating that I've not seen in the corporate world yet. And venture studios do exist, which kind of go into corporates and help with this ideation process and MVP creation. But if your company doesn't already have that, this is a fantastic and free proxy for that. You'll learn a ton of stuff on this course that will be applicable in your corporate life. Lizzie, yes, we will always use this platform for video calls, at least for the time being. If you're finding it's not working for you, again, just reach out to us. We're super flexible, right? So we're open to feedback at every stage. And Simon said, please do send calendar invites for all the meetings and workshops. Absolutely, we will. Those will be within the community, I believe, but I'll make sure that we get those sent out to you guys too. Simon said, is this only for solopreneurs? That's our bias at this stage. Of course, if you already have a co-founder, there is no preclusion to you joining, right? We are free and open to everyone. We've specifically geared this towards solopreneurs because that is the toughest stage in your startup journey. But if you are lucky enough to have found a co-founder that you're working with, we can maybe even tailor certain sessions to you or give you a bit of extra support on the side. So I've been through one of the founder first accelerators myself back in 2019, where they kind of inorganically forced us to team up with other people from within that network. And for me, that really did not work. The results kind of speak for themselves. But if you have organically found a co-founder and you're happy working together, absolutely welcome. And Simon, maybe drop me a message offline. We can talk more about that because I've got some fantastic tools that you can use for checking and calibrating that compatibility with your prospective co-founder. Liz has asked, where can you find my email address? I will type it in the chat so you've got it. You should have received an email from me. My email address is mike@underdogaccelerator.com. But it's been an absolute pleasure presenting to you today, and I'm glad that so many of you are still super keen, despite me doing my best to put you off joining. All right, guys, we'll end that there. Thank you so much. Again, reach out to me, even if this is not for you. In fact, especially if this is not for you, please do reach out to me and to Steve and let us know why, and we'll see if there's some other way that we can help you on your journey. Because again, we genuinely love startups and entrepreneurs. So reach out to us either way. Thanks, guys. It's been a pleasure.